We are truly coast to coast today. We're welcoming Reverend Thomas DeSchutter today. He is on Vancouver Island. He's also the newest Canadian Unity Minister. So, Thomas, we are just delighted to have you here. And I know you're going to be talking about paving the way to receiving. And let me just give you a quick little background about Thomas before he gets started. He is a lover of life and a champion for what is possible. He spent two decades in the financial industry. He also has suggested this morning that he was involved in film, and he continues to be a drummer, which is awesome in the music industry as well. He is an assistant minister at Unity Vancouver Island, ordained in just June of this year. He's responsible for the technical aspects as well as social media and marketing, and he speaks 2 times a month at that service. I think he's actually doing that later today. So thank you for being here so early. He and his wife, Leslie, are the proud parents of twin teenage daughters, and you will see them in the background of a sweet picture he has on the wall. So Thomas, I'll shut down the slides and let you take over. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Wow, look at all those beautiful souls here with me. This is fantastic. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. And for those that weren't with us earlier, the topic of the Brady Bunch came up. And so I thought I'd share it with you that here's the story of a lovely lady who is bringing up 3 very lovely girls. All of them had hair of gold, like their mother, the youngest one in curls. And here's the story of a man named Brady who was busy with 3 boys of his own. They were 4 men living all together, yet they were all alone. I can't believe that I actually still know most of that song. It's crazy. But that's that's the way our mind works. And if we jump right into this idea of paving the way to receive, before I came to Unity, and for those that don't know me, I only walked into a Unity center in 2017, and I hadn't been to a church or a spiritual anything since I left home when I was 18. And so I came into the Unity Center and I heard Reverend Patricia speak. And actually, it was the words on the slide that really hit me. It was, Unity Spiritual Center of Nanaimo is a growing, unfolding, expanding center of light and love, mighty to attract its good and radiate good to others. And I had never heard a spiritual anything use that kind of language. And I think immediately I was hooked. And so about 6 months later, I went to Reverend Patricia and I said, I think I kind of want to possibly do what you're doing. I don't know why. Seems crazy to me, but I think I want to be a minister. And so immediately I jumped into classes, all the SEE classes, and 5.5 years later, here I am ordained and living, not living the dream of financial success as a minister, because I don't know that those exist. So when I often laugh about it with my friends, this is truly one of those things where I didn't get in it for the money. I came from I was a stockbroker for 20 years. I still have a financial services industry or business. So I understand finance very, very well. And I was a musician prior to that. And that, of course, was a love of art. And I was in a, original recording band where we were out on the road playing for, beer money and food, basically. So I seem to have this affinity to end up into things that aren't about the money. They're about the prosperity and the receiving in so many other ways. And there's nothing that I am lacking in my life. It's not like I'm in a place of, oh, I can't afford this, because I've changed that language. And so let me get back to something that I think sort of built the way to my being a Unity minister. And I read Think and Grow Rich in 2011, but it was The Science of Getting Rich that Wallace D. Wattles wrote in about 1909 that really hit me. And it was these words: there is this thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates and penetrates the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in this stuff produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. A thought in this stuff produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. And when I think now of, after all of my Unity classes, all of the reading that I've had to do and that I choose to do, that for me really sums up the Unity teachings. That yes, we have the five principles, God is, I am, I think, I affirm, I act. If I could, boil the five Unity principles down to those very short statements, it is about the treatment of our thinking. It is about aligning our heart with that thinking. And it is about going even lower into our wisdom and order and allowing those three areas. So if I think of it in the body, it's, here, here, and here, and adding that connection, having those three areas aligned. And we have our 12 powers, but for me, those three really seem to ring the most true. And I know that you could look at it and say that over all of that is will, the will and determination to do something, the willingness to be, the willingness to stand for yourself. All of that leads to what I believe is paving the way to receive. Because if we're not in step with our thinking and our desire, our true heart space, our wisdom, our faith, then is anything really going to happen the way we want it to? And I'd say yes, because it's likely that maybe we're more in tune with the stuff we don't want. Anybody ever had things happen to you or not go the way you wanted it to? And I kind of look at it like this. It's paving the rose garden, putting mud over top of a rose garden, right? It's like, or reversing that, putting a rose garden over top of the mud. You got to deal with the muck. You got to get in there and you got to deal with the muck. And sometimes we say, hey, I'm going to go do this, but underneath our breath, we're going, it's probably not going to happen. I don't think I've got the stuff to do that. That's probably not going to work out the way I'd like it to. I'm not too sure about this, right? And if that is the truth, if that is our underlying truth, the chances are, see, told you it wasn't going to work out. Huh? What'd I tell you? Told you that was going to happen that way. Anybody ever said that? Ever had that happen in their world? And so it is very important that we begin to take responsibility for everything about ourselves. And I always say it starts with noticing. We first have to actually notice. We have to notice what it is we want. We have to notice what's going on. We have to notice what are the thoughts that are coming up. We have to notice what are the emotions that are coming up. We have to notice how we respond to people. We need to notice when we have judgments of other people. We need to notice when we have judgments of ourselves. And what does that look like? And it's not from a place of good or bad or right or wrong. It's from a place of if I actually notice, I can do something about it. I can now begin to take a different stand. I can now begin to affirm something different for myself. There's so when I speak on this and when I think about that, there's so many stories and examples in my life that I can run to and go, oh, I can see how that went, and I can see what my thinking was back then, and now I understand why it went the way it went. And there's one that kind of stands out for me this morning, and it was I had a coach a number of years ago I was working with, and this is before Unity, and I worked at I had started my financial business at Edward Jones, and then I got lured over to the dark side the banking system, and I I ended up at Scotia McLeod, and I just say that jokingly, but the banking is there's a whole thing going on there that I have some judgments. I'll be honest, I have judgments about it. But anyhow, I went over to Scotia McLeod. I lasted about a year, maybe 14 months, and I had to get out. It just was not for me. That whole environment was not for the kind of person I am. And so I went off on my own, and I thought, I'm just going to go do my own thing and start my own firm. So in February, the end of February 2008, I leave Scotia McLeod and put up my own shingle. So just think back for a moment. February of 2008, we are about to embark on the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression, and I go out on my own as a financial advisor. Anyhow, I'm sitting in this 10 by 10 office, and I've got all of this paperwork, and everything is done by paper. I have no assistant. I have no system. It's literally me in a 10 by 10 room calling all of my clients to have them follow me to this thing that I'm starting from scratch right now. I was very successful at doing that. However, I had these piles of some applications done, some that needed to be mailed out, some that had been returned and I needed to process. And I am losing my mind, and I totally break down. I'm done. Like I am stressed beyond belief. And I have a call with my coach. Her name was Sean, and she listens to me as I go on, and I'm almost in one of those states, I think of this back to when I was a kid, when you're crying and you're like, and you just can't even you can't get a breath. Like you're just stressed, right? You're just out of it. And that's the state I was in. And, and Sean goes, okay, well, thanks for sharing. I really appreciate that. And she goes, okay, so when was the last time that you started your own financial firm? I've never done that. She goes, yeah, exactly. And this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like for you to start your own financial firm. What did you think it was going to look like? Oh, well, I thought it was going to have like wood paneled walls and like the story that I thought it was supposed to look like was what was really going on. Is this didn't look anything like I thought it might look like. And her just planting that seed of, when was the last time you did this? How did you think it was supposed to look? This is how it looks. And immediately I could just get landed in a place of, oh, this is what it looks like for me, not for you, not for anybody else. This is what it looks like for me to start this kind of venture. Now I've got a place to stand. Oh, well, what do I need in place to create what it is I want this to look like? And from that point on, everything changed for me in that reality, because I was living in this dream world of how it was supposed to be versus the way it really was. And I wasn't willing to accept the way it really was. And as soon as I accepted exactly, this is it, this is the way it starts for me. I'm on the bottom rung and it's a mess. There's papers everywhere. There's stacks. There's complete disorganization. It's okay. I can now start building and moving forward. And that was the beginning of paving my road in that business. And when I think of Unity, what I had learned from that when I came into Unity schooling was that I just needed to put my head down and do what was next. Not think about it, not have this grandiose vision of, oh, when I graduate, it's going to look like this. None of that. It was literally, what's my next class? What's my next paper? What's my next assignment? What's my next reading? Get it done. Know that I'm going to do it. Have complete confidence that I can manage this and just push on no matter what showed up, as opposed to thinking it was supposed to look a certain way or supposed to be a certain way. So when we're trying, when we're creating, when we're in that space of wanting something different for our lives, and it doesn't matter what stage of life we're in, there's likely something, an aim that we're after, a way of being, a way of thinking. Maybe it's relationships, maybe it's income, maybe it's community building, maybe it's writing something, maybe it's creating art, whatever that looks like. This is where prosperity shows up. This is where unity prosperity teachings show up. It's not about just money, it's about everything in our lives, whatever that looks like. The question is, what do I want for my life? That's really the question we need to be asking ourselves, is what is it I want for my life? And leave out the next thing that comes up, which is, oh, I can't have that. How often does that come up? Oh, that's not possible. I often think that if I wouldn't think it, it wouldn't be something that was possible for me. Like, I don't wake up any day and think, hey, I want to be an astronaut. Like, it just doesn't occur to me at this stage of my life because it's not something that I believe is even possible. So it doesn't show up for me at all as a possibility. But there are lots of ideas that show up for me as possibilities. And it's my job to then go, oh, that's the aim. Here I go. What do I need to put in place? What do I need to start? And start thinking about it. Again, if we get back to unity teachings, God is, I am, I think, I affirm, and then I act. And faith. So I want to add in some faith to this, because I believe that faith has a great deal to do with whether things turn out or not. And I'll quote from Eric Butterworth for this, because when you really sit with this and think about it, you can see how we can reflect back on our lives and see where we really did have faith in something and where we really didn't have faith in something. So faith is expectancy. You do not receive what you want. You do not receive what you pray for, not even what you say you have faith in. You will always receive what you actually expect. There is no such thing as a lack of faith. We all have plenty of faith. It's just that we have faith in the wrong things. We have faith in what can't be done rather than what can be done. We have faith in lack rather than abundance. But there is no lack of faith. Faith is a law. And it's interesting when you think about it, there's no lack of faith. So what is it that I have faith in? At the end of the day, that's that noticing, that's asking yourself a question, a deeper question. What is it that I truly believe? What is it that I truly have faith in? Am I holding myself up to the standard of faith that I believe I need to do the things I want to do? Because, if you're like me, anything you've done that is worth doing, it's not without challenges. Or as I like to say, growth opportunities. These are areas that we get to push through to see. I often think of it, if I want to sub in the word universe, the great universe, I often think of it as the universe is always testing me. Oh yeah, you say you want this? Well, let's see, how bad do you want it? Like, let's just check here. We're just going to do a little check-in. Things might be going really good for a while, and all of a sudden something comes along that you kind of go, whoa, wait, where'd that come from? I look at that as like, oh, this is that test of how badly do I want this? How much strength and will within myself do I have to move through this to keep going? And then when you do, it's amazing what's on the other side of it. It feels like it kind of sails for a bit, and then maybe that next growth opportunity comes along to challenge us and for us to look at and see, well, what's here for me? What do I actually need to do to move through this? These are check-in points for us. So I have written out, I have 5 prosperity principles. And these were originally, I used to have 5 money principles back when I was really pushing that business. And And so I was able to take my 5 money principles and turn them into 5 prosperity principles. So, principle number one is know what is so. You have to know exactly what is going on with you, what you're up to. This is that part I call noticing, right? Know what is so within yourself. It's got nothing to do with other people. Have you ever noticed that most of the stuff that's going on with you really has nothing to do with anybody else? It has a lot to do with ourselves, right? So know what is so. Number two is life mirrors you. Life mirrors you. So your thoughts, your feelings, your true emotions and truth is really what's showing up in your life. It's, I often think of it this way, it's my life, right? Everything that is in my life, I'm ultimately responsible for. I can't push it on other people. It's actually in my life. So then I am responsible for it in some capacity. It's not a blame thing. It's about responsibility. If I take responsibility for what is going on in my life, I have some power now. I have some control. So it's about owning that. So life mirrors you. Focus fuels outcomes. So I like to think of focus as also that faith, that will. So if we want to use some 12 powers there, we can throw those in, but focus fuels our outcomes. So I'm very intentional in the morning. I get up, I meditate, I do 40 push-ups every single morning. I have for now 2,600 and something days in a row because I determined I wanted to be able to do 40 push-ups when I was 85. And I thought the best way to do that was to just do them every day till I was 85. That's it. If I just got up every day and did 40 push-ups, then if I just did them, I'd be 85 one day doing 40 push-ups. Oh, what a great idea. So I just get up every day and I do them. It's built into my register now, just like prayer and meditation puts me in a state of living my best life. So what do? I get up in the morning and I do that. Number 4, faith state is king. Having a state of faith, of what focused on the things I really want, not on the things I don't want. So no negativity. Doesn't mean I don't have days where I feel bad. It doesn't mean I don't have days where I don't have everything I've got to give. There's days where my energy is low. There's days where I have doubts. There's all of those things. But my North Star is that I have the faith and I will bring myself back to that. I won't allow myself to get stuck in the treadmill of lack, of this isn't going to work, that sort of thing. My dad was a simple man, and when I was a musician and I was playing in a band with some guys, and we were struggling and we weren't all wanting the same thing. And he used to say to me, if you're not pulling on the rope in the same direction, you're going nowhere. And it's like, oh, hey, yeah, that makes sense. So, if I'm in a partnership with people, are we aligned? Reverend Patricia and I meet every Tuesday morning. We have our meeting. We decide, we discuss everything that's going on at Unity. We are aligned in what we're doing going forward. And then number 5 is you are your most valuable asset. You are your most valuable asset. So that thinking of the airplane, when the oxygen masks come down, you put it on you first so you can help other people. We need to make sure we're taken care of, that we are in the right headspace, the right mind space, the right energy field, all of that stuff. We need to make sure we've got it centered. We're going on. We take care of ourselves. We start the day. That's why in the morning, I do what I do in the morning, because I now have won my day. I have now won the day. Anything that else comes in, I'll just, that's just lifing me. But in the morning, that's my time to set myself up to receive what I want in my life. This is all paving the way, right? So it's a mindset and it's a way of living that we can adopt and be intentional about, that allows us to have that ability to just take things that come and deal with them with grace and ease, be relaxed, be calm about things. I think with that, I'll close with something from Lao Tzu for all of this. And you've heard this before. I know you have. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And from Rumi, the path won't appear until you start walking. So we need to notice, we need to be in tune with what we want, and we have to set ourselves up in order to receive. We need to pave our own way to getting the life that we want to live, to have the experience that we want to have the emotional endurance that we want to have. All of that comes from within. So if we begin here first with each one of ourselves, then we can be a light for others to see. Oh, I want what that person has. You know, that's what it is that hit me when I saw Reverend Patricia. I said, oh, I want what she has. I just decided to really go after it. Oh, I'll be a minister. I didn't know I could have just meditated and it would have been okay. So, with that in mind, I invite you all to join me and we'll take a few moments and maybe do that connection. We can bring ourselves into the space now of using our understanding, our power of understanding. And I invite you, if you're comfortable, to just close your eyes if you're in a place where you can do that. And take one hand and just a few taps on your forehead, just to acknowledge that place of understanding within us as we understand all the things we're talking about today, the experiences we're having here today in this time that we have. So we can understand. We can begin there. And then I invite you to maybe take your hand and just gently press in your heart space, just to wake up that area, connect our understanding with our harmony, that space in the heart of harmonizing our lives, harmonizing ourselves, harmonizing to one another. And just allow yourself to breathe here. And then next, I invite you to take a hand and just above your belly button where our wisdom resides. And just give a gentle nudge there just to wake up that area as we connect our thoughts, and our harmonizing heart space, and our wisdom. Allow yourself to breathe into that space. If any thoughts are coming up, just allow them to drift. I often think of the thoughts coming up in meditation as me looking out a window. It's kind of like a car or a train going by where I can just watch it. Comes along, comes into my view, it's in front of me, and it begins to head out the other direction. And the next thought might come in, and I can treat it the same. Allow them to just move along. and we breathe. We let go. We'll just spend a moment here in silence. I'll keep an eye on the time and I'll ring a bell when it's time to come back. And as you're ready, you can open your eyes with your next breath. Come back to this space on Zoom. Get reacquainted and presenced. Thank you for being with me today. Namaste.
May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive.
What a fine song to end such a fine talk and meditation, Thomas. That was just spectacular. I have 100 things I want to say to you, but we'll talk in the chat afterwards. But when you said the poetry and stuff by Wallace Wattles, that brings a lot of memories for me, because that is a huge part of my spiritual life. That was becoming a facilitator for the Science of Getting Rich was a big deal. So I hear that poem. I have it up on a wall, and it's awesome. And your 5 prosperity thoughts, I counted the words. It's about 20 words long, which you would call simple, but so deep and so incredibly helpful and grounded to work with. So thank you for being here. We hope you'll stay here for a few minutes afterwards and have a chance to chat. And if anybody has any questions or concerns, we'll bring them up then after our service is completed.